All right, we're looking at the different qualifications to be eligible to be president of the United States. And this is a couple times this year that we've already looked at the terms formal and informal. So anytime you see the word formal, it means like it's specifically stated in the Constitution. So formal requirements for president are stated in Article 3, which is the part of the Constitution that deals with the executive branch. They're mandatory. By law, you have to meet those requirements. The only way that you could change any of the formal requirements to be president is through the passing of an amendment. Informal requirements for president are not mandatory, but they're just what people prefer. They're sort of like preferences from the people, and they're able to change over time without having to go through a formal actual amendment. So there are three formal qualifications to be president of the United States. Again, these are all written down in the Constitution within Article 3. The first is you have to be a natural born citizen. Unlike Congress, you have to be born in the United States to be eligible to be president of the United States. If you're born in a foreign country and you become a U.S. citizen, you're automatically disqualified and you can't run for president. The minimum age requirement is 35. You have to be at least 35 years old. And you have to be a resident of the United States for the 14 years leading up to your election. So this prevents you from being born as a U.S. citizen, moving out of the country for essentially the first 35 years of your life, and jumping back in and becoming president. You have to essentially have residency for 14 years before you're elected. The age thing's pretty interesting. The average age of U.S. presidents is 54. Haven't had a whole lot of young presidents, but the youngest elected president in American history is John F. Kennedy at the age of 43. And the oldest president, surprises a lot of people when you hear this, is actual President Trump. He's the only president that was elected at the age of 70 or older. Informal qualifications are things that people often prefer. They're like common characteristics of our presidents, but they're not mandatory. They're not required. So, for example, most presidents have had military service. Most presidents have had government experience. They're not necessary, but it tends to be what people prefer. Most have some kind of presence on TV. Most have been college educated. Most have been married with kids. Most have been Protestant. Obviously, there's no religious requirement to be president, but almost all of them, minus, I guess, really Kennedy, have been Protestant in some way or another. Most have been wealthy. That's Buchanan. He's the only president elected from Pennsylvania, and he's our only bachelor president. Again, kind of showing you that, most presidents have been married with a family, but it's not a requirement. It just tends to be common characteristics of the presidents. And again, these preferences kind of change over time. The last really two presidents haven't had really much military or any military service, whereas before it was like almost a necessity that voters wanted to see past military service in their presidential candidates. So again, these things change over time, the informal ones, and they're not actually required by law. They're more preferences.